Well, I said I was going to do this on my Instagram. I was just doing an Instagram live feed. I was sharpening this. This is a HTM. Looks like it's a DDR HTM. I'm not sure what steel this is. I like this knife. I just don't like that. Is what I was saying on the other. But yeah, I'm working on getting this done, and the knife that I had intended. Hey, why, thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. But what I was saying is, I was sharpening this on my Instagram live feed that I just did, and I said I was going to come over here. The actual video that we're wanting to look at, what we're going to actually sharpen, if I can just get this done quick. I only have to take this to 10,000. It's sharpened up nice and smooth. Your ferrum that you bought from Nico, the Ferox, is actually already on my counter. Your Mordax is going to need, yeah, I've tried Shapton glass. As a matter of fact, I have a Shapton glass that I got rid of and replaced with a Shapton cream ceramic, 12,000. It's one of my straight razor stones. What's that? Let me see here. Let me get this set here because I'm horrible at that. Live chat. Let's see. I caught the end of the Instagram feed. Yeah, I'm gonna get this knife done, and then we're gonna sharpen a. Let's turn this around so you can see it. We're gonna sharpen a very, very badly chipped Benchmade Osborne 940. So, but you guys know I love my Osborne 940. I just wish it was an S90V instead of S30V, and I can't get Benchmade to swap the blades out for me. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad, guys. I love hearing when you guys are happy with stuff that I did for you guys. It makes me happy that you're happy. I just wish that I had. Where's my? There it is. There's my 1100. I just wish that I had enough business that I could do this all day, all the time, instead of having to do construction during a day and then pick and choose what times and what days that I can actually sharpen and make stuff. Because there's a lot of times after work, I don't have enough. I ain't got nothing in the tank. I could have done some of this yesterday, but I didn't have nothing in the tank. So, like, we had 4 truckloads of soil come on Friday and shoveled all of that, and then hey, the Benchmade Anthem is an attractive knife. I just don't think it's worth what they're charging for it, but it's a very attractive, very well made knife. I just don't see it being a $400 knife. With it being a Benchmade and having all the problems. So I really like these diamond matrix stones that David Scott makes for Edge Pro. That's what I use. I don't use the actual fixture. I'm gonna sell the actual fixture, or it might be a giveaway. You're just not gonna get any stones. It'll just be I should just do that. I should just do it as a channel giveaway, and I got to do a channel giveaway again soon. So yeah, I don't think it's worth 400. It's a nice knife, but it's not worth 400. Especially like they all have. What is this? I actually have a question for you. Is the tip on a Norse? Yes, it definitely is. If you try to do a Norseman on anything but like freehand or stuff like that, it's not gonna work out for you. You're gonna fucking screw up what actually is really great edge geometry on that knife. John has actually started recommending me to his U.S. customers, because if you're a U.S. customer, you cannot send that knife back for sharpening to them, because the fact is it won't make it through California or Canadian customs to go back. It'll come to the States as a flipper, but when you send it back to them, it gets caught up at the border and you won't ever see that knife again. And then you're out, you know, fucking couple $1,000s for a grail knife that people have purchased. So John and I talked about it. He's been sending people links to my videos. I know which one that is. I was there when that Hamon got put on it. It's a decent looking knife. They're good. I love the Horizon Beat. Pierre, what's up? I did not send your knife out. Nothing went out this week, bro. I have not had time. I have not made it home before the post office closes a day yet this week. Yeah, I'm still taking customers for sharpening, yeah. It's just that the times have definitely increased, how long it takes to get your stuff back. I don't like that they've had to, but I mean, I don't have much of a choice. I work 5 days a week, and there's a lot of times that I don't get home from the job site until 4:30, and by that time I'm fucking spent. Like I said, we shoveled, I couldn't tell you how many, probably 60 cubic yards of soil and about another 40 cubic yards of gravel and sand with 6 guys yesterday, on Friday. On Friday, I mean. Just remember, so those are a unique blade design, blade shape, and it's Tonto, so those are more expensive to start. But here's the thing, there's no upcharge because I can only take it to like 2,000 grit. So there's just one charge for that unless I have to do repairs. So just due to the complexity of those knives, they have to be done at a higher price point. Sorry, I wish I could do them all at the same price, but I just know how much more work they are. So yeah, I'm almost done with this one. We're only taking this one up to 10,000. I'm almost there already. So, what do you think of the new Benchmade? I have not gotten to see them. The only problem I think that the Benchmade Osborne Titaniums, they're bigger, aren't they? Aren't they a bigger version of the Osborne than the regular 940? I can't remember if that's... I saw something about it when I was about half asleep the other day. Yeah, I was able to get an edge on the ZDP 189. Okay, I don't know. Okay, asking me models and things like that, I'm not gonna know. I'm a knife guy, but I don't, especially Benchmades, I don't follow anything from Benchmade. I have one Benchmade knife, and I really despise Benchmade's quality control and things like that. They're a company I used to love, and now it's reached a point where I don't pay attention to anything that Benchmade does. If it's a Benchmade, I probably don't know about it unless I've got one in for sharpening. So I don't know what that knife actually would be. Let's see here, what was that? Same size but titanium handles. I would actually be interested in that. What's the blade steel on that? Because I would be interested in that because I love titanium. I'm not a big fan of the aluminum handles, even though it's nice and light. I do have to admit that my 940 is super light. S90V, I'm down all day and twice on Sunday. If it's an S90 and it's titanium, there's a good chance that that might wind up being a new work knife. I'm gonna sell a couple things, and I have sold a couple things with the intention that I need a decent, good work knife. That Minax prototype of Elliott's is doing really well. I am a fan of S90V. I really do like S90V, and the fact that I love the Osborne 940, I love titanium, and I love S90V. That one might be one that has to... How much are they? That's the question too, because like I don't like Benchmade's pricing, price versus quality. I'm not a big fan of how their value add. There's not much value to that. Yeah, I wish my 940 was in S90V. I might talk Nico into letting me take the S90V blade out of his. Oh fuck, 400 bucks? Fuck no. That's ridiculous, Benchmade. Ridiculous. That is ignorantly expensive. I don't think Benchmade makes a knife that I would pay. Benchmade does not make a knife I would pay that much for. They don't. Because the first thing I'm gonna have to do when I get that thing is fix it. You guys know that the edge is gonna be wrecked. All inconsistent and everything. It's gonna be just horrible. I don't know what steel this is, but it definitely does not want to give up its scratch pattern readily. No, that's not why. That has nothing to do with it, Peter. It has everything to do with, they used to be a really good company. They had really great knives. They had really great quality control. Their shit was great. They were a small company, and then they basically sold out to go bigger and let quality fucking fall by the wayside. And when they did that, they really lost my interest. And incurred my wrath. I have to do something quickly. I have to resurface this stone here. So, hey, what's up, guys? That's Fiberlight Fire Starters, guys. You saw the video I did about their fucking fire starter kit that they sent home with me from Portland, and I gotta say, it's fucking great. What did that video on the stonefish go up? Which one? LTK put one up. Outer Limitless has not put his up yet. So it's just a So Outer Limitless is gonna do a video about the stonefish. I know Love Them Knives did, Big Red EDC did. Who else? There's a handful of people. What was that? Field testing. Yeah, that's Outer Limitless, and he's gonna be doing that as soon as I get my new stonefish, he's gonna start his testing. So basically that was the deal, that like, since there's a chance he might destroy that knife, I'm getting a new one from We Knife, and he is doing the he's gonna do the test. Oh, I'm already at 13 minutes and I haven't even started sharpening the knife I intended to sharpen. But this one's almost done. I had just barely started it, so I'm like maybe 20 minutes on this knife. Main topic discussion, I'm just doing some sharpening. So we're done with this one for right now. This one actually has got to go to 12,000. But that 12,000 grit stone has got to spend some time in the water before I start doing anything. So, are people answering questions for me? Yes, it's real comparative to VG10. I like OS 8. It's a good steel for more budget knives. So anyway, we're gonna take the chip out of this. Let's get this started. So we saw the before that it's fairly chipped. Let me get my my coarse diamond out. S30V is one of those ones that does not like to give up its scratch pattern. So even though I'm going to take this to 10,000 grit, there's a good chance it's not going to lose all of its scratches, especially the deep ones. Yeah, that other one's going to 12. This one's going to 10. So let's see. Let me see how much edge alignment I'm going to have to do on this before I start removing chips. It's not horrible, but it's also not great. So do the majority of the reset on this really extra coarse diamonds plate. I don't like these, but it's the only ones I can find that have got the raw horsepower that I'm looking for. I'm trying to get Big Brown Bear. I've been thinking about it. I'm trying to figure out a way to get Big Brown Bear to send me one of his really super expensive stones to test and then send back to him, because I sharpened one of them. I sharpened on one of them at Blade West, and I was impressed with those stones that he's making or having made. And that would be something that I would that would be like just work edge style. Like that would be something that I would like to have for my own knives. My own knives don't go much above 1,000 grit, unless it's just something that's like pocket jewelry like this. Like this I would take to the show and you would see the really, really crisp, super polished edge, and then you feel it, you can feel it's still toothy. And that's like a business card. But my work knives, nah, 650 to 1,000 on the sharpening for those. So, because I know what I'm cutting: cardboard and fiberglass mat and filter fabric and stuff like that. No, it's not it's not even a 228. It's the Redention. It's the ones that Ramon had made by Riat. 228 is way bigger than that. So that's the Redention Street, and then I've modified it myself. So I mean, technically, I've customized it myself. Gonna be a lot of material that has to be removed. A lot of material. So I'm gonna have to reach out to this customer and let him know that that chip removal is going to add, especially on S9. S30V is one of those steels that I don't like because it doesn't have the super steel benefits that I see, really, just the negatives. Like, it's hard to sharpen. It doesn't want to come up to a good crisp edge easily. It takes a lot of work. And then the other things about it are you don't get the plus. Like S30V is hard to sharpen and get a good crisp edge on the way you want it, because it just takes forever. But then the flip side is it doesn't hold that edge real well. It chips real easily, in my opinion. In my experience, it chips. Some people disagree with me, but like, every time I've sharpened, and it doesn't matter what grit I take my Benchmade 942 in S30V, it chips. Even doing just light duty tasks, such as like just opening envelopes and boxes, Amazon packages and things like that, I get little microchips along the edge. And so this is, you know, if I'm not going to get the benefit of the edge retention and impact resistance that I get out of something, say, let's say 20 CV M390, which if heat treated properly is great in that capacity of impact resistance, wear resistance, again, hardness. S125V is another one that's like that. But if I'm not getting the benefit of that from these steels, then it's a negative. You know, it's a no-go for me. And S30V, that's what S30V is for me. I want your S90V blade out of your fucking Osborne and put it in mine. $300 for this knife in titanium? Benchmade. What the fuck are you thinking? Whatever you're smoking, pass it my way. I wouldn't pay $300 or $400 for the Benchmade Anthem, and it's in 20 CV, which is one of my favorite steels. Yes and no. Greg is, I'm a fan of some of the things that Greg has done for the knife community, but I am not a fan of how Greg interacts with his customers. I'm not a fan of the knives themselves. They're cool, but they're just too much. They're too bulky. They're too thick. They're too over the top into that overbuilt. I mean, like, I couldn't use one of Greg's fucking knives as a fucking as a work knife. It's too thick. It won't take an edge that's thin enough for what I want. And then there's just Greg's attitude towards his customers. So I was at Nico and I have been trying to figure out which show it was. I believe it was Blade Show West the first year we went. Not this year, not last year, but the year before. It was, there was a bunch of guys at his table, and these guys were military guys. These are guys like fellow Marines and shit. These guys are asking him a bunch of questions, and he was in the typical Greg mood. And yeah, he was in a typical Greg mood, and these guys were asking a bunch of questions. He's like, look, I'm not here to fucking answer your questions. If you're not gonna buy a knife, then fuck off. And I was like, oh, Greg. And I just walked away. I didn't even get an interview with him. I was gonna try and get, I was trying to get some time to fucking talk to Greg on my YouTube channel, and Greg, you know, I had talked to him on via text and DM about doing it, and then I saw how he was, and I was like, you know what, fuck that, I'm not fucking doing that. But I'm like, bro, that is why you're here. You're here to answer questions. And so, I mean, sometimes you talk to Greg, and he's a great guy. I talked to Greg at, where were we at, Nico? Was it TKI that I talked to Greg? And he was a great guy that day. And then I tried to talk to Greg somewhere else, and he was like, once again, just being a complete fucking douche nozzle. So it's hit or miss what you get with Greg Medford. And I get it, it's frustrating and things like that, but that's not that's not how you interact with your customers. I have interacted with some customers like that, and I mean, I could have missed some other stuff, but it just simply seemed to me that those guys had some questions and he just didn't want to talk to anybody. But he still sells knives. He still sells knives, and he still has a strong fan base. I can't, you know. I say something like that, and I'm vilified, and people come on my Instagram live feeds and fucking... Yeah, he was a jerk at the Cali Customs show, too. Like, I was trying to talk to him, and he's just being a jerk. He's just being Greg, again. So, you know, but I mean, I get it. It's frustrating. Running your own business is frustrating, but you know, at some point, somebody has to save you from yourself. That's why Elliot has a Chris, and I have a Nico, and those are the people that are with you. They're basically your handler, because I'm not gonna lie, I run into people at shows that I've talked to that I do not like. That I've had interactions with online that I don't like these people, and I have to be congenial. I like Jeff. Jeff is great. I think that maybe Greg just needs to just stay home and not go to the shows and let other people run his shit. Yeah, well, I quit worrying about whether I offend people, whether people like me or not. Oh my goodness, this is taking a lot of stock removal. Lots of stock removal. I'm glad I just bought a new one of these. This is the new one. The old one was not working as this one did. It was not removing much material. It was just. Isn't Jeff? Isn't Jeff a? Isn't Jeff from like the Netherlands or something? He's like from. He's from. I believe he's from Europe because he does have. I think he has an accent. Or am I thinking of somebody else? I don't know, Alex. You talk to those people more than I do. Yeah, but he's a really great. I like Jeff. I like talking to Jeff. That chick. Yeah, I like Amy. He is not a small guy at all. So I looked at him. I was like, holy crap, that's a big dude. Yeah, Ethan Becker is good. Elliot, if you run into Elliot at a show, he will. I like Rick. I do. I like Rick Hinderer. I talked to Rick for a good 45 minutes the last time he was at the Cali Custom Show. I like Rick. And I always remind him that my first Hinderer fucking was a non-flipping flipper that I had way overpaid for. Rick's a good guy. He really is. Most of the guys in knife world are great. You know, every once in a while you run into a couple that are just unholy fucking assholes. Rick and I talked about, we were talking about something like Vietnam era, and I don't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, talking with Rick, you can be there for a while if you're talking to Rick Hinderer. I got to get old boy at Monterey Bay Knives and try and get that knife in for the double detent, fucking non-locking top flipper. What's up, Ashton? Taking chips out of knives for customers. Benchmade 940 in S30V. I fucking hate it. Trying to change my position. I didn't put any socks on, and I've got my feet in the sun, and I don't know if you've ever sunburned the tops of your feet. It's an unpleasant experience. Really like this Mike Stewart at Bark River talk about knife history. Their S90B is actually pretty good. I really wish when we were in Portland, I was going to try and get them to put an S90B blade in my Osborne, and they said they couldn't do that. Oh no, we can't put an S90B blade. We can't do Franken blades. We can't do Frankenstein knives. That knife's supposed to have S30. I was like, what's it fucking matter, guys? I want an S90B blade. I may order an S90B blade and see if they'll just send me just the blade and fucking put it in myself because it's not that hard. Yeah, I just do not like S30V. I like the knife. I love the knife. If I had a choice, I wouldn't take between either one. I'm not a fan of either company right now. Their fucking shit is so jacked up. So, so yeah, I'm not a fan of Benchmade or Spyderco at the moment with their quality control issues and a bunch of other stuff that I'm not even getting into the fucking not even getting into business practices about like fucking the destruction of firearms, which you guys know I am not a fan of destroying firearms. I'm a big proponent of our Second Amendment rights. I don't see any more of that chip. But I also see a spot that just doesn't look like it's sharpening the way I want it to. I want to catch that before I get all the way up in grit. Nope. This is a weird edge to sharpen on these 940s. They have a weird, they have a distinct, unique shape to them. But Benchmade's, I'm not having any problems with like Benchmade's steel. I'm having problems with like their quality control, like misaligned knives, fucked up edges, knives coming out that aren't sharp at all. And Mike, that's one of the problems I've got is I really want a work knife in M4, but there's not a lot of companies that make knives in M4. And if you're getting into M4, it gets fucking expensive. And to find knives like that, so the ones that are kind of affordable are, your Benchmades and shit like that. And I'm like, fuck, but I don't want fucking Benchmade. I don't want a knife that's gonna come in and I immediately have to fix. So what was that? Somebody said something like, you still use even if diamond stones, recently saw some binder or something now offer bench stones. I'm kind of thinking about it. I use mine from time to time. I got a user Contigo. Text me after your live stream. Yeah. I don't think I've ever had anything from Les Adams. Pretty sure I haven't. I want to see something here quick just to make sure. I'm not ready to go to that grit of a stone yet, but okay, so I was gonna say, you knew that was gonna incur my wrath. You knew that you needed to stop me before, because I was gonna tell you, it's like that you're being dumb, Mike. You're being dumb. Saw smoke on the horizon. Yeah, we got it all out. Okay, so we're ready to go up to the next one, which is my 1000 grit. As soon as I figure out where the fuck I put it. So for you guys that don't know, the joke there is The joke there was the fact that 204P, M390, 20CV, they're all the same. I mean, they're minor, tiny differences, but not enough of a change that is just enough that you're going to get the same performance out of each one that is like almost identical, but enough of a difference that they can say it's something different. And so, you know, there's no noticeable difference that I found between M390 and 20CV in a factory heat treat, like a production style. I've never seen any notable differences between any of those. I've got to run in the house for a second. I'm gonna take you guys with me. There's no notable differences that I've found in the way they perform. Like I couldn't like pick them out of the lineup. Is it supply issue with LMAX or is it crew? Or LMAX is made by Bowler, and they had a huge fire that burned down their factory, and there just isn't any LMAX right now. Hang on a second, be quiet. I gotta go grab something. She's sleeping. She's watching a Japanese TV show. Actually, she's sleeping. But yeah, there's like no notable differences between them. That has nothing to do with it. ZT fucked that up, but that doesn't have anything to do with why you can't find it now. The fire at the Bowler factory, at the Bowler plant's what caused it. Are there substitutes for LMAX? LMAX, I can't remember if there's any. I had to sit down for a minute. I actually like the factory heat treat on M390 from React about as well as anything anything out there. But it's got some definite differences. It might be close in composition, but there's definite differences. I've done, it's CR13 MOV. I've sharpened a lot of knives in LMAX versus a lot of knives in 204P, M390, 20CV, especially at Elliott's in-house 20CV. Massive difference in edge retention, edge holding, stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. It's LMAX is a lot like a stainless M4. It's closer to that than say a 204P. So composition can be close. Like it's not as close. Like LMAX is nowhere near as close in composition as 204P or M390 because the fact is that they're basically analogs. LMAX is a completely different animal. It's a high-speed cutting steel too for the plastics industry, but it's got some different qualities to it. I can tell you right now that you can polish LMAX off of a 2000 grit stone to a fucking straight up mirror fucking polish with just a couple passes on a good strop. You cannot do that with 20 CV or 204P. You can take LMAX and you can take LMAX to 1000 grit and get a crisp, super polished looking edge that I would say would be almost the same as what you would expect seeing M390 at like 4,000 or 5,000 grit. It just polishes fast. Same thing with there's some other steels that are like that, like D2. D2 will take a quick polished edge off of like 1000 grit stone, and it's pretty mirrored looking, and it's just different steels different steels give up their scratch pattern differently. I've got to tell this customer about the S30V. S30V does not like to give up its scratch pattern. Yeah, D2, I like D2. It takes a really, really good edge. If it's heat treated well, it takes a really good edge. It looks beautiful at like 2000 grit. So, which is where this knife is at right at the moment. So yeah, it's just, but like like I said before, it all goes back to personal preference. Some people like certain steels. It's no different than people like in specific companies. I get it. You guys know me. I'm preferential towards Fair and Forge and their stuff. But the fact is, I know their quality standards and things like that. I get a lot of hate because I talk bad about other companies that, like, I call them out for their quality control. I call Elliot out for stuff. I have a prototype in my pocket right now that I told him I wanted to carry it. He let me carry it, but I already told him, I was like, dude, the pocket clip's is not going to get a good fucking, it's not going to get a good look. And so just so you can see the pocket clip, I'm not going to show you the knife, but like, I don't like that proud pocket clip. It sticks up too high. I don't like the pocket clip. It's a great knife. Just not a fan of the pocket clip. Would I carry it? Occasionally. It's not something I would ever carry consistently. I love bent clips. There are people that argue. Ashton doesn't like bent clips as much as he likes deep carry, but like, we have completely different things that we carry. Here's the thing, like, I think we've already went too far with some of these super steels. I'm not gonna lie to you, some of the best knives I've ever owned have been in fucking 440C with a good heat treat. 440C with a really good heat treat, fucking amazing. What is it, ATS 34? Like, I know that there's guys out there that love super steels and they're always chasing that Rockwell and stuff like that. Like I've said it before, for me, it's not that big a deal. I want to find that good middle ground where I have a good knife design with a good steel that I can still touch up in the field. You know? With some of the stones that I have that I can carry and toss in my pocket, I can do that with M390. Some people can't. There's a lot. Like I said, one of my other steels, everybody's like, oh, it's just garbage. I can't believe they used on Norseman, that budget fucking garbage steel. RWL 34, I got news for you. RWL 34 is fucking awesome. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna make myself a knife out of RWL 34 as soon as I can afford to buy a piece of it. So to offset that cost, I may make 2 knives in it and sell one and have the person, you know, like I said, at this point, making knives, if you want me to make you a knife, you're gonna pay for the steel, the belts, and everything. I'm no longer gonna, now I'm working and shit, I'm no longer gonna make knives for price. You missed out, Mike, only once on Friday. Would have made a good time for you. I don't understand what you're talking about. Okay, I can explain to you what the difference is between Damascus steel in a video that I put up a while back. And is this Justin or is this John? John or Justin, right? Justin or John? Which one of you guys is it that does that's on here right now? Justin, okay. Yeah, I did a video about it, Justin. So basically what it is so true Damascus steel is, well, true Damascus steel we don't even use anymore. What's up, Zach? So we don't actually do it. It's woot steel. It's a crucible fucking steel. It's all done, and that pattern that you get is in the steel itself as it comes out and is poured. where you have clumps of carbides and shit that are distributed in different patterns throughout the steels. So when you, what was that? Somebody was saying something? So it's the process for Damascus is, Damascus pattern welded steel is that you're taking different types of metal, like these two, say these are 2 plates of steel, and I'm gonna stack these different types of steel in a plate like this, then I'm gonna cut them up and I'm gonna stack them, and that's gonna give me my pattern. So I have different types of steel that are gonna react to the acid later differently, and then they stay welded in that pattern. So you forge weld them, you gotta have flux in there. So the problem with that is that you wind up with inclusions and things like that could cause cracking, and then you have different types of steel that are gonna heat treat and harden at different hardnesses, so the edge is not gonna be the greatest. When you're looking at Damasteel, what Damasteel is are 2 types of steel that are almost identical in composition, except one has a little bit more carbon to allow you to etch the darker part. And they're done in a plate, and it's all powdered, and so the powder goes in, and then it goes through hot rollers, and it comes together itself as a powder, and it's one, even though it has a pattern in it, it's still one congruous piece of steel. It's all the same, it's at the same hardness, it's got the same properties. One just has a little bit more carbon in it to allow you to etch and get that pattern. And so it's a completely different thing than, say, Damascus steel, which is going to have problems with its actual inclusions, and you know, if you don't forge weld it right, there's a lot of stress in that from the hammering and stuff like that. It has to be relieved. Damasteel is basically RWL34 and then another variant of that steel that is got a little bit more carbon in it, and so you basically, it sharpens just like RWL34. It's one piece of steel as opposed to, even if you forge weld something, it's still not one piece of steel. It's multiple pieces of steel that are just bound together. This is different. It's molecularly bonded together as opposed to being forced and held together at like on one leading point. If that makes sense. Too much thinking. Too much thinking right now. Did that make sense? No, you could, but it's a powdered metallurgy. What they found is they found a steel that they really like to use it with, where they get a really bright, because there's more nickel in one, and there's one that's less stainless that gives you a dark, and you get a really, really brilliant pattern. And they can pick the patterns. You would have to make it out of different steels, you'd have to look at compatibility, how close you can get something where it's going to bond with it, and things like that. It'll wind up at the same hardness and things like that. I met Pear, and we talked about this while we were drinking beer one night. The first time I ever met him, Pear, the guy that runs Damasteel. So I asked all these questions because the thing is, when you're sharpening, like let's say you're sharpening a Damascus blade, you can feel the layers of steel interact differently on the stone, and then you can run your thumb down it and you can feel that some of the steel wears at a different rate than the others. So there's a lot of cool stuff with that. That's a new technology. And then I guess there's another company that has started doing the powdered Damascus. Vegas Forge Damascus is attractive, but the problem is the Vegas Forge uses steels that are not always going to be the best choice because you can't harden them. What is this? Fiberlate, if they use 2 steels, they don't have a lot of alloying agents. Yeah, that's what I was saying. You've got to have the right steels to do it. And yes, it is a proprietary. Damasteel has got a proprietary process that they do. It's still Damascus though, and I'm not a fan of Damascus steels. I always thought I wanted them until I started sharpening a lot of them, and then I realized that the problems we have, like, so here's the thing. With Damascus steels, they're forge hardening and heat treating using a forge, not an oven, not a kiln. And a lot of times what happens is when they do that hardening, you've got 4 different types of metals. You got 4 different types of materials. That would be like me putting an S90V knife in the oven with my 20 CV blades. one of those, depending on which heat treat we use, is not going to work well. So one of them is always going to come out. So you have to pick which one am I going to, which one's going to survive. I don't think S90V would handle the extreme high temperatures that you, I mean, the packets barely handle the temperatures that we do the 20 CV at. So you're getting the same thing. You'll have one of them is going to come out softer or harder than the other. And so it's just, it's an antiquated thing. It's the hardest way to make it. It's really, people are like, oh, the more, it's a higher quality knife. Well, really, it's not. Have you ever... What did Alex say? I missed something that Alex said. Yeah, it's true. That's what today's video was originally going to be, and I just don't have... I just don't feel like doing it today. I just don't feel like doing that video today. All right, time to take this one to 10,000 grit. I just don't have it in me to do that video today. I was going to actually film a video. Tripod, light, and everything were set up in the kitchen, and I had stuff laid out that I was going to do a video about, and I knew I needed to sharpen, and I knew I could do this as a live feed. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do that then. So I just came off of a 8,000 grit. Just came off on 8,000 grit. I'm coming up on my 10,000 grit. So we're gonna look at it. It just took us about an hour, but let's not forget I had to remove a fairly significant chip. A lot of that time was spent with that chip removal and then repairing the edge alignment. And the chip is gone. The popping hairs off of that. Is there? I really don't know, but I know that they feel different. So I don't know what the difference is, to tell you the truth, because a lot of that stuff's proprietary. I can tell you that CPM 154. Come on. Where are we at here? So I can tell you that RWL 34 feels completely different when you sharpen. It is frightening. The only thing that I have found that gets that scary and frightening when you sharpen it is that it's it's as close. The only thing I've had that gets as sharp as or sharper than RWL 34 or feels sharper, because you really can't get it, is the Nitnell stuff, SM100, because it's not steel, and so you can actually get that edge thinner than you can get on steel. RWL 34 is amazing, and you would think, because it sharpens so easy, you're like, oh, this is not going to hold this edge. It's a soft Chinese steel, but it actually holds that edge really well. So there's some knives that just like S90V, I can sharpen S90V way quicker and way easier than I can do S30V, which this is done, by the way, all the way up to 10,000 grit. I can get that done way quicker, way faster than I can S30, S90 I can. And it holds that edge better than S30. So just because a knife is harder to sharpen doesn't mean that it's going to be a better hard-use knife. S90V, in my book, is leaps and bounds better than S30V. But people are like, oh, well, if you're saying it's easier to sharpen, it must not hold an edge as well, and it does. There's weirdness to it. Like, there's some stuff that you sharpen that just does not want to give up its scratch pattern, like S30V. And then there's other stuff that will give up its scratch pattern real easily at a lower grit. So it's just these weirdness that happens with these steels. Just because a steel poses a problem with sharpening does not necessarily mean that it's gonna be your top performing stuff. You know what I mean? It just depends. I'm not sure what steel is in this HTM, but it doesn't want to give up its scratch pattern. And I have to take this all the way to 12,000, and we're gonna finish this now. I'm gonna start working on that because this one's done. But yeah, there's some things that just are weird about steels, and it goes back Conan the Barbarian, the enigma of steel. I've had some pretty high-end custom knives that were in 154, CPM 154, and I've sharpened them, and it's just they're different. They are different. They may be close in composition, but that's like the spec sheets. Okay, I had a guy argue with me. I said S30V is easy, or S90V is easier to sharpen than 20CV, M390, any of those things. Even S30V, I find it very easy to sharpen. It cuts real easily, especially gets a really good edge on aluminum oxide. And so some people are like, no, look at spec sheets, it should be so much harder to sharpen. I was like, you can give me the data, but my personal experience is that I have much less problem sharpening S90V than I do, say, S30V. And they're like, no, that's impossible. I'm like, okay, you can say that all you want, but personal experience tells me that I know how it feels. So sometimes you can actually get a finer edge on an aluminum oxide stone than you can on a diamond stone. I wish that S30V was better, because I'm not gonna lie to you, when you do S30V well, that edge on that Osborne is super crisp. That is an amazing edge. It is super, super crisp, but it's not gonna stay like that. The second you cut much anything with it, I never hit this on a strop or tested it yet. But the second you do that, it's just not going to, it's not gonna do what you want. And I find it frustrating, because I love the way it feels, like a fresh edge on S30V. Oh, it's like a cold beer on a hot day while watching a game. It's fucking perfect. But then, like, 2 days later, your edge is gone. And so it's one of those frustrating things. Not gonna lie, I love S30 straight off the stones. Like right now, that is one of the most perfect edges that I've done in a long time. It feels great, but then you cut something and it's not gonna do it anymore. Is my half micron? It is. So that's some sexy looking steel. So that chip is all the way gone. All the way gone. And it was pretty significant to begin with. So guys, that's gonna be about it. I'm gonna end this video. This was the whole point of this was to sharpen this. I hadn't done a live sharpening video. I hadn't talked to you guys in a couple days. The only reason I'm not like shooting an actual video, that's something I might be able to explain too. A lot of that has to do with edge geometry. Too thin or too blunt can be an issue. So, but yeah, I just want to do this. I have a whole nother box of knives that I'm gonna sharpen. It's only 1 o'clock. I don't use any pressure when I'm sharpening. You don't use any pressure. You let the stone do the work. That's what the abrasive's for. It does its own work. You don't, nothing there that you should be doing. Yeah, they would do good on a translucent Arkansas. So if you're putting pressure on your stones when you're sharpening, you're just wearing out your stones. That's all you're doing. You're not doing anything that really is adding to. You get the push and then you shake and then you get your angles all wrong, and then you're gonna cut into your stone and you fuck your edge up. You shouldn't be using any pressure. You let the stone do the work. That's why it takes so long. That's one of the things about sharpening that takes a while is you just got to let the abrasives do it itself. Like I'm just, the weight of the knife is all that's on there. Every once in a while, if you're on like a coarser stone, you can get away with putting a little bit of pressure to try and get out some specific deep gouges or something like that. But all in all, if you're putting any pressure on the stones, you're just wearing your stones out. So it's a matter of patience and just maintaining your angles and knowing. Like right now, I know where the tip of that knife is. I don't. It's just a learned skill, and so, you know, that's one of the things. Like I was talking about, if that guy contacts me, you can send me an email. It's edge geometry. Yeah, if he's using that much pressure, then he's. The other thing too is you use too much pressure. Your edge, as you come up, what your edge is just where that material keeps coming up and gets thinner and thinner and thinner until it reaches a point where it cannot get any thinner. Razor sharp is as sharp as you can steel. That's as sharp as you're gonna get it. Cutting hair, popping hair is as sharp as you can get it. Can you refine it down to where it just pops them and stuff? Yeah, you can, but you're not getting it any sharper. And so if you're putting pressure on that, there's a chance that you're flexing that edge more than you need to, and then you're chipping it off, and you're getting microchips, and you're getting fucking steel stuck in your stones. It just leads to bad things. There is no pressure. Like I'm setting that knife on there, and that's as much pressure as I'm using. Yeah, I sharpen a lot of straight razors. You can't use any pressure on a straight razor at all. All right, now I'm trying a little something because I was having, yeah, I definitely got a finer finish on it with that stone than the previous one. Let's go up here to this stone. What was that? Exactly like we said, he's pushing too hard. The only time I've broken a stone ever was because I dropped it. Chisel grinds? I make a couple knives that have chisel grinds. Well, I make a knife. Chisel grinds have their place. They can be really, really sharp. They can be easier. They can be easier to sharpen in a field because you only have one angle to worry about. They get nightmarishly sharp, but let me see here. There's stuff going on here. That's the thing. Like I make a neck knife that's chisel ground, and I flip the edge geometry depending on whether you're right or left-handed. Because a right-handed chisel grind is not going to work for a left-handed person. It just is not going to provide you the cutting potential that you want because that chisel grind is going the wrong direction. So this is exactly how I wanted to spend my Sunday. I've wanted to do this forever. I wanted to just get out here and get at my workbench and get everything cleaned off and sharpened. It's been so hectic with the new job and everything, and the kids skating. And like I said, she's leaving for the Netherlands on Tuesday. All right, let's see here. But you know, this is good. What I need though is wait with me momentarily. We'll stick this out. We'll stick around for a little bit longer. I lied. I'm gonna take you guys with me. Take you with me. So, what was that? Somebody cancel that. Chisel grinds have about half the cutting out on normal knives, which makes it very cutty. I've heard some choice words. The problem with the chisel is that sometimes you'll get it too thin. I don't have any more cold beer, but I do have. Hey, when did you get up? Say hi. You excited to go to the Netherlands? You excited to skate internationally? I'm glad. It depends. It depends on what you're gonna do with it. Like, hey, what's up, Joshua? You gonna go watch my kids skate at the Challenge Cup there in The Hague? I can get you the information. I know it's not far from you. I know it's just like down the road and shit. Chisel grinds are weird. They really are. I do not mind a hollow on one side of a chisel grind because it makes it easier to knock that burr off the backside. I have a Japanese Higo no Kami that is a really good knife. It's not chisel ground, but I also have a Japanese marking knife that was my father-in-law's. And it's chisel ground, but it's hollow on the backside. So that's probably enough for all afternoon. What is it? Yeah, I mean, like I said, I make a knife that has a chisel grind. So it's, you know, it just depends on what you want to do with the knife, what you're going to do with the knife. That's going to determine whether that edge profiles or geometry is what you want. I do find that my little Viper neck knives, the Kiradashi style ones, I don't do a hollow on the backside. I just do a complete zero grind chisel on one side and then just knock the burr off the other side. I find that gets incredibly sharp and holds that well, and then it's just a matter of one edge to put up on a stone, or if you've got a block of wood and a piece of sandpaper, you can touch that edge back up. So I'm trying to look at this and see if I'm getting this. Yes, the ones I make out of 20 CV. And so they're chisel ground. They're only ground on one side. I have made a Japanese style straight razor where I did a hollow, deep hollow on the sharpened side, and then the flat had a minor hollow further back. Yes, so the heat treat, if I'm making a knife out of S125V, there's a specific heat treat for that. If I'm making, because I just made one the other day, if I'm making a knife out of 20 CV, there's specific heat treat for that. And all of it is basically is the temperature. Your times pretty much are consistent. Like 20 CV, I take it to 2200 degrees, and then I quench it. And then once it quenches and it's out of its packets, then I set up the other oven, and it gets 2 4-hour cycles. Or is it 2 by 2? It's 2 by 2. So 2 2-hour cycles at 1000 degrees. And that's a secondary hardening and tempering. So it's S125 is different. I just did, and I will tell you that S125V is hard enough that before I ground the blank, I could take the edge of the back of the spine and I could score glass with it deeply. So you're talking about some serious stuff. But it is actually heat treated at a lower temperature than a 20 CV. So, you know, each steel depends on, you know, the heat treat of each steel depends on its compositions, the vanadium, the carbon, the the tungsten, the you know, chromium, all those things play into what temperature does it need to be at to get all that stuff to where it's not liquid, but it's plastic enough that they're forming bonds. So carbon is forming with tungsten or vanadium or chromium, and they're making a carbide. So that temperature has to be a point where these things can move around inside the steel, and it becomes ductile enough that it can form these structures. And then when you quench it, you lock that in. But then it's really brittle, and then you have to loosen that up, that structure up enough with a little bit more heat to normalize things. And it's a really interesting process. Heat treat. And I had somebody ask me once, I was, well, how much does heat really affect? How much does heat really affect? And I was like, how much does the heat affect? He's like, well, heat really can't affect something like that. And I was like, I'll give you a good example. Take pork sausage and make pork sausage and rinse your hands under warm water, and you get all the fat and grease off your hands before you cook it. Take that same grease and oil that comes out of that after it's been heated up and changed chemically, you get it on your hands, it's on there. You give water, it just beads up and comes off, and you can wash that off. You have to use soap to wash it. There's a chemical change that happens when you add heat to anything. I'm gonna fart. Drink some whiskey. Frying an egg, liquid to a solid. All right. 2 stones left. Two stones left, and then this knife is done. And then we did 2 knives. Ooh, this thing is, I do like this knife. I like this HTM. I will tell you there's one thing I don't like about it. It is uncomfortable, and I would immediately change it. That flipper tab would lose all of that jimping. I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't know how well you guys can't see that. There's a lot of jimping on that, and it is uncomfortable. Which knife? Your what knife? Oh, the Stockman? Yeah, it's done. I just got to get it to you. That's all. On top of what you're seeing me sharpen now, I also sharpened a bunch of other knives this morning too. Last stone. Let's get this last one done. Yeah, it's done, Nico. That's why I was hoping you. I don't know. I'm gonna talk to Sean and see if he can send me one as a loaner, just to put it on the channel. I want him to send me one of his knives. I'll tell you what steel, anybody that they buy a knife in it is paying the most money for of anything, and I guarantee it, is if you're buying anything in Nitnell like SM100, the titanium nickel alloy, you're paying a premium for that. That shit is worth more per ounce than fucking gold, I believe. It's expensive shit. I would love to have one in SM100, but I just can't afford it. I'd love to have a knife in SM100. I have a dagger. Nitnell. Well, yeah, it's not a steel. There's no steel in it. You know what I meant. This has a good edge profile, and it is nice and thin. Good edge profile for this style blade. Not sure what steel it is. It might be XHP. If it is XHP, it's some of the best XHP I've gotten in a while. I'm not a big fan of XHP unless the heat treat has got to be dialed the fuck in, or you get a gritty, nasty edge. And it just, people disagree with me. They're like, oh, XHP is great. I was like, XHP is like one of my least favorite steels. But if this is, because it feels like XHP when you're sharpening, but it definitely does not have a poor heat treat. It's got a pretty good heat treat on it. Let's see here. So getting a good mirror polish on a knife is a matter of trying to avoid grit contamination. They do, but the edge is all carbonized. You can't really, you can harden it, but then it gets brittle. It loses a lot of the factors that make titanium desirable when you harden it like that to put an edge on it. Or you carbonize the entire edge and then you're still not. You know what? I found something I don't like about this. The lockup is really soft. Like that. It feels like you could slip the lock. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to play with it too hard because I know how sharp the thing is. So if you guys ever watch how I sharpen, I'm real cautious about rinsing I rinse my stones off. I have several tubs of water. I'm always wiping the blade off in between, because if you don't do that, what happens, you get grit contamination, and then you can't maintain, like, you'll get grit all over. Like the stones that I've already used are up here, and they'll get rinsed off. Cold Steel's XHP is really good. That's what I was gonna say when we're talking about companies that have done XHP real well. Cold Steel would be the one. I missed a little spot up here at the tip on that final stone. It's got a little bit of a cloudy spot. I'm gonna try and hit that back up on the very tip of this. This is just for aesthetics. It's not affecting the edge at all. It's just got a little cloudy spot behind the very apex. So not only are there steels I don't like, I'll tell you, there's knives, a lot of knives out there I don't like. I will tell you one that's really popular is that South African, the Shemwari. Not a fan. Not a fan of that knife. It's not a bad knife. It's just not something that I just don't see it for the price. I'm like, how much? So yeah, guys, we're done. I'm gonna go in. My kid is up now, so I'm gonna go in and call it a day. For right now, I might do a little bit more later. It's not that I don't like, my hands are too big. I can't make them work. Because my hands are big enough that by the time I'm up forward, I'm putting pressure on the lock. That's why I like that front flipper or top flipper from, help me out here, Nico. Help me out, Nico, before you go. What was the one from Monterey Bay that I liked? Ray Laconico's design, that top flipper, but it doesn't it's a double detent. There is no lock bar. And I really liked it. But that's because I could flip it as a top flipper without having to worry about AWC or EWC, something like that. At any rate, I have to get the other knife from Nico first, so I gotta get the other knife from Nico so I can sharpen it. And I haven't sharpened the one that you got yet. So yeah, you can send that to me, but it's gonna be a little bit. I gotta get through all of this stuff first. I have a whole nother box here, and there's like two straight razors in there I gotta do too. So, all right guys, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm gonna watch Star Wars on my phone while I work out here for a little bit. I will talk to you guys later. Take it easy. Have a good weekend. I love y'all, and I'll see you next time.